So the questions that were on the sheets that, or the sign-up sheets, there were some that just, some simple stuff that I think we addressed. Other was, like, what do you look for if we don't have a hurdy-gurdy luthier nearby, and you need to get something done? Who do you look for? Find a good a violin or a bowed string luthier. The luthier is different between the bowed strings and the pluck strings. They can overlap. There are guys that do both, but most of the time, if you want to find a good luthier, find a good violin luthier. They've got the finish is in most of these instruments. Let me correct that. Like the Aplo is not the finish for this instrument, but violin players or violin luthiers have a better founding in doing retouching and finishing and things like that, because often that's part of their job. So that's the source, and just find one that is willing, should they have any questions, to ask those questions without just saying I know what I'm doing and then just hacksawing the whole thing apart. That's that. Let's see. Getting better sound out of an instrument. If you need to if you're not happy with the sound that your instrument makes, there's a lot of different adjustments. There's new strings, new cut, new rosin, new wheel pressure, scraping the wheel, changing the tangents, fixing the tangents. There's a whole bunch of things that fall under this kind of my instrument doesn't sound the way I want it to. And sometimes the instrument is not built that way. I mean, you just it's like saying I like my my little portive organ to sound like a church organ. It's not going to happen. You just can't make it do it. But there are ways to get it closer. So if you have questions, then those are the questions to ask in the hurdy-gurdy group. So you can ask me, or you can ask anybody else who does the work to try to help you get to the next step. Let's see. Need help with setup. Somebody needs some help with setup. So we went through setup. If there's more help you need, feel free to ask the questions. I'll get you squared away, or hopefully try to get you squared away. There was a discussion about size and scale for tenor. We talked about that. We had some notes over there. And then I talked about which instruments are better for people with smaller hands or what have you. And all that, just all those kind of generally answered were generally answered earlier. But if anybody's got any specific things that weren't on there, we'll go through them after this. Like I said, I'm going to be here for a while, so if you've got other questions or you need clarity on any of this stuff, just let me know. Okay, so we're going to play. We're just going to play chiffre, which I've already lost the sheets for. Okay, it's a different scale. It's not kind of a standard scale. Because I am not the music theory person. I couldn't tell you what scale it is. But what I've done is basically highlighted the 6 notes, not the open note. There's 7 notes that we're going to play, but one of them is just the open string. So the 6 notes for chiffre are those notes. So this is the end towards your peg box. It's the first upper key, the second lower key, third lower key, fourth lower key, upper fourth key, and then the 6th key down there on the bottom. So that's it. Those are the only keys you're going to be using. And the thing about chiffre is that it's repeated patterns, and a lot of the music that I play is French dance music, and it's just an A and a B part. There's a few that are A, B, C, and sometimes there's A, B, C, D, or there are variations on them, but pretty much there's an A part, there's a B part. You're going to do variations of the same thing from one part to the next. It's just, from one A part to the next, from B part to the next. They're not difficult. They're really straightforward. So, let me go to my notes. I have those two. Okay. Okay. So, playing. We're going to start with just simple playing, and I'm going to reiterate this again. Find a teacher. Get somebody that can help you out. Get somebody that can give you direction, and get you where you want to go in terms of your ability to play. And like I said, the best thing to do is find a teacher that either plays in multiple styles. You know, Grégory Jolivet is a great example of that. He plays Baroque music. He plays French trad. He plays he plays with Blausabella, so he's got some of the English trad stuff that or the stuff that they've written. It's kind of continental trad. And then he plays new music. He plays, you know, he can do the one buzz per rotation while doing all kinds of things with his left hand, or he can do all kinds of things with his left hand and do 8 buzzes per rotation. It's just, he's the kind of guy that encompasses all of that. So when you look for that person that's going to teach, try to find somebody that's going to fit with the style that you want to play. If you want to play trad music, find a good trad music player. If you want to play more modern music or something that's, you know, kind of more modern melodic, find that teacher. And if you find a trad music player and you start playing with them, great. And if you want to move on, move on. Don't, you know, you're not violating the code of ethics by having more than one teacher, and you're not violating any kind of thing by moving from teacher to teacher. So not a problem that way. So next, I want you to practice like a professional. And when I say that, I mean, don't sit down and play meaninglessly. Think about what you're playing and practice something repetitively. Try to find something that you are weak, some skill you're weak on, and practice that. But practice it like, just concentrate on what it is you're doing. The problem with doing that is that it's difficult over lengthy periods of time. You can't necessarily focus on something and do it for 2 hours at a time without kind of overtaxing yourself or drifting away, or, you know, thinking about, what about if I do this with this when I'm doing that? 20-minute segments. Practice fixedly, like, you know, I'm going to concentrate on this one skill for 20 minutes. That's it. Put 20 minutes into it. Once you're done with the 20 minutes, you can put it down or you can keep playing. But that 20 minutes is going to be your focus. And the way that you develop skill faster is to break up that hour-long playing session into 3 20-minute playing sessions. So you do 20 minutes of concentrated practice. Before you go to bed, 20 minutes of concentrated practice. When you wake up, 20 minutes of concentrated practice. When you come home, 20 minutes. It doesn't have to be all at once. You can do it once a day. It's just that this is the way that you ingrain it in your muscle memory. You ingrain it into your mental acuity. You know, just basically you're really kind of focusing on it and trying to re-establish that connection to whatever it is you were doing over and over again throughout the day, or at least repetitively, you know, every day for 20 minutes. Now, if you play for 3 hours, like I said, no problem. Play for 3 hours, but put that 20 minutes in. And that is distraction-free. Put headsets on. Don't watch TV. Just concentrate. Go to work. Okay, so that's kind of the. I read a little article about somebody who said they, you know, professional player. And they said, well, how long do you practice? And they said, I don't practice. I play. You know, the difference is if I need to focus on something, I play. I focus for 20 minutes, and then I'm done. And so, you know, that's the way that they kind of ingrain it into your muscles and your brain. Okay, so so next, because you're trying to combine both your left and your right hand, and you want we know your right hand is here, and your left hand is kind of here. I'm terrible for this. I get yelled at by the teachers all the time because I do this and I can't. I'm trying to train myself out of it, but it's difficult to do, especially when I've been doing it for almost 20 years. I roll my hand over my thumb. I do that. That's not good. It blocks you from getting to where you need to be. So most players will play and they'll stick their thumb out. They're always hitchhiking. They're always going somewhere. So you'll see them, and even if they're however they're playing, their thumb will be out. I'm trying to get my thumb to stick out like that, but when I start playing, I tend to do that. Don't do that. So when you play, there's, like I said, the two ways that you generally move across the keyboard it's called what I call flat hand, and then kind of the climbing version. The flat hand version is the version most people play and they start with, which is to lay the heel of your hand here across the key box and play the keys. That's all you do. You just move your hand back and forth. It works. It's functional. You can get from here to there, no problem. The only thing is that you get these delays. Da 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 da. You get that pause in there if you play completely flat hand. So in order to overcome that, and this is something that's kind of really emphasized by Valentine Clostrier, who, if there's a lot of people that are new, so I'll try to explain it real quick. But Valentine is this amazing player who doesn't play anything I like. But he's amazing. He's just really, really good at what he does. But everything is jazz, and I'm not a freeform jazz on a hurdy-gurdy type guy. But he codified it all in a book. If you haven't got the Valentine Clostrier book on how to play the instrument, it's all in French, but there's lots of pictures. So, and what he did is he sat for 2 years. I mean, literally locked himself in his house for 2 years with a schedule on a board that said, get up at 9 o'clock, have a cup of tea at 9:15, take a shower at 9:45, eat breakfast, 1 egg, white rice. It was that strict. He was totally locked in exactly what he was going to do for 2 years, and all he did was study his body mechanics and how he was going to play the instrument better. So he's the one that first came up with this longer crank idea where you can turn a little longer to get more buzzes because you have more room to make the buzzes. And he also kind of codified a few other things that other people use or they have been using, but it didn't really have a serious kind of focus behind it. So he did that. And what he did was he turned his hand like this, so that when his hand sits here, these fingers kind of curl under like that, and then his first finger is extended, so that when he plays, it's really quick. So he's basically kind of codifying this idea that you can pivot on your thumb. You pivot your hand on your thumb, so you're not doing this across your keyboard. So you can pivot your hand across your thumb, or on your thumb, and you can get your fingers kind of in and underneath to the next key fast. His is kind of extreme in the way that he plays. It's a little harder turn on his hand as he plays, and like a lot of trad players play fairly flat, and they do kind of the same thing. They move their hand across, they straighten the hand up, and then they go from there. But his playing was really that he would kind of constantly be in this back and forth, this angular motion on the key box, because it allowed him to get to where he needed to do with a quick twist of his hand. So that's the way that you can do this. You can play this. You can get to learn to play the instrument faster. So the other thing that happens when you do that, though, is that you tend to be up on your thumb a little more. your wrist tends to be cocked a little down, a little more, which is bad for your wrist, and then you got a lot of pressure on your thumb. Patrick Buffard very specifically puts all of his pressure on his thumb. He moves really fast. He's got long fingers, moves super fast across the keyboard, but his thumb is way up, and his wrist is has a really hard, sharp bend on it, and I believe he's had to go in for carpal tunnel surgery twice now. So I'm going to show you kind of the midway of that, and the midway of that is to move your hand where you lift your hand up onto your thumb, and you move in that linear, that angular fashion where you're going from here to there by bending your wrist a little more, putting your thumb down a little more, and then once you settle in a position where you're going to play, to drop your hand a little more. So you're gonna walk across the key box, and then you're gonna drop your hand. You don't need to do this up on the thumb all the time, and you don't need to do this kind of chuck across the keyboard. The way you can do that is to travel up. So start in a fixed position, travel up, turn your hand, and then move your hand to the relaxed position once you get to where you're going to regularly play. So if you're going to do you move your hand up this way and then flatten your hand a little bit more. It's a little bit of practice, but also it doesn't tweak your wrist one direction or another. It allows you to relax. Sorry. The next thing. Yes, if I had sorry. There's a message. Would my thumb go into the top of the key box with the open hole? No, you ride your thumb on the front side of that thing. There's a guy in Europe that's kind of he's a super avant-garde type player. He's doing all kinds of things. He's banging on the instrument and plucking the strings and sliding his fingers up. He doesn't even have a lid on his. Like, he's just taking the lid off and he just runs along the front. So you can still rest your hand on it. But for these, what I want you to do is learn to do this quick thing. Now, the other thing is that the reason I say, okay, you're going to rest your hand in the middle of the key box. Well, but wouldn't you want to start at a point? Yes, you do want to start someplace, but the middle is a good point where you can, if you just twist your hand, you can get back to these other keys. So, and it's all in the same position, just moving your hand like this. And the same, I'm just moving my hand up the key box, using my thumb as a kind of a guide, and rotating my hand as I travel, and then kind of coming into a natural position when I stop. So that's what I want you to do. Now you're going to have to develop that on your own, but it's something to focus on when you practice. Try to practice, moving your hands as you go. This kind of moving your fingers across the keyboard, the keys, is you're going to move your hand, and then you need to learn to compress your fingers, so that when you move from this position down here, when you need to switch to the ring finger, you compress your fingers in, and it's a quick jump to that ring finger. Now my ring finger's on there, so 4, 3, 2, 1, and then the 3, and then 2, 1. So So that gives you this quick move, and you need to learn to just compress your fingers in order to do that. The other thing you need to learn to do, relax your hand. Seriously, relax your hand. Don't put pressure or strain on your hand. Try to be as supple with your fingers as possible. And the reason I say that is because, I started doing this, and we used to laugh about it all the time, which is, what was I pointing at? Well, I don't know what I'm pointing at, but every time I play, my finger's sticking out like that. I don't know where my finger's pointing. I don't know what it's doing, but I would play when I'm starting, and my fingers would all just be, sticking out like whiskers. Just relax your hand, and if you feel like you're doing that, where you're, you know, like I said, what are you pointing at? Pinkies do it too. People get their fingers way up like that. If you start doing that, stop playing for just a second, maybe, you know, a minute or whatever. Shake your hands out, relax, kind of just, you know, and then play slower. And when you play slower, concentrate on keeping your hand relaxed. Now, the other thing is, you don't need to move your hand, your fingertips, away from the end of the relaxed keys, right? Because they're not going any farther out than they already are. So if you have your hand out here, it takes you that long to get to the key. So if you just relax and let your hand relax in its natural position, sit over the top. If you can kind of touch the keys from there, perfect. That's exactly where they should be, and you should be able to just relaxed, you know, fast playing. The farther away you play, the farther away you kind of lift your fingers off the keys, the harder it is to get them back again. You wear your hands out faster. And you play slower. So relax your hand. Think about how you're moving your hand up and down the keyboard. As far as your hands go, if you're new at this, you need to know that when I started, so this is my dominant right hand. All right, this is the hand that I started out with, and this is the one that stretched as far as I could. We'll do this. When I started with my left hand pinky was inside my right hand pinky. I couldn't stretch it out far enough. I couldn't make that happen. Now I cannot stretch my left hand or my right hand to match my left hand. It stretches way out. The pinkies go way beyond each other. So, you know, I can't make these things match, and it's just a matter of practice and time. So give yourself time. Don't, you know, if you can't do it today, and you won't be able to do it tomorrow, but, you know, 3 months, 6 months, 5 years, you're going to be like, you know, be able to stretch an octave, no problem. So just, you know, just allow yourself time and know that, you know, it's the restrictions in your hand. If you're a musician already, musicians already that play, they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I can, you know, touch my ear with my pinky from here. They're great. That's awesome. Okay, so okay, scales. Everybody will tell you play scales. You know, you're going to be, I'm going to learn how to play guitar. Play scales. I want to learn how to play piano. Play scales. I want to learn how to do this. Play scales. I'm not going to tell you to play scales, but I'm going to tell you that learning to do a scale run along the bottom, just the bottom keys, as fast as you can, without any noise interruptions, will help you learn faster to jump your fingers. So you'll get to the point where you just move right up the key box. So in this case, I don't want you to play scales. What I want you to play is consistently from the start position to an end position, but 7, 8, 9 notes. Play the whole thing all the way up. Don't just do, you know, do the whole thing. And then, once you kind of get comfortable with that, I want you to do the full chromatic run from the open string all the way to the octave. Now, you know, you can go farther than that. It's just this is just the easiest way to do it, so that when you are developing the technique where you move your fingers kind of up and down to match the keys, it allows you to just play really quick. So you're learning this up and down motion. Okay, so that's what I want you to do. So do the full chromatic scale. And I have a pattern for that I generally use, which is I play the first 3 notes with first 3 fingers, then I play the next 3 notes with 3 fingers, and then I play 2 more notes with 2 fingers, and then I play 3 notes and then cross over. So I'll play the last 3, and then I'll cross over with my ring finger to play the octave. So I'm to go. So all of that. It's not necessarily, you're not going to use it for anything. It's just the ability to move your fingers up and down along the key box without having to fumble around, or only be able to, oh, I can't play that one note because it's up here and I don't normally play up in that weird position. You know, you want to be able to do be comfortable with all of the keys in all of the positions. Okay, so okay, so chiffre, which is that same, that one, and just using those keys, those simple keys, you're going to start on, let me make sure. Yep, okay. I'm going to start on the second bottom note, and it's going to go da 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 da, up from the second note, third note, fourth note, top fourth note, third note, or fourth note, third note, second note. So it's just 1, 2, it's 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just like this. Right? So 4, 3, 2, 1, that upper note. 2, 2, 3, 4. And that's the sound pattern. Da 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 da. So it's those 2 da 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 da, just like that. That's the first part of the tune. So 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2. Sorry. 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2. You're gonna end up on your middle finger on that note right there. So the fourth bottom one. So da 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 da, down there. Okay. It repeats. Same idea. Start again. But because you got to have a cool ending, so that's that. You're only going up. So it's da da. Da 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 da. Open note. Da 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 da. Okay? Simple. That's the A part. It's the whole thing. It's you know, you're technically playing 5 keys, 5 of the 6 keys with the open note. So you end up on the open note. There you go. The next part has the thing that people, it's common, but it's something that you sometimes have to tell people. It's got repeated notes, which is you hit the same note twice with the same finger often. to start bottom third one. Bum, ba, da, 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 sorry. Da, 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 open note. And then that same thing, that same pattern, that repeated note, you just shift it from this note to this one. Da, 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 those two notes. It's if you listen to music and you hear this while you're playing it, you know, you listen to the tune while you're playing it, it's pretty straightforward to figure out because it's repeated patterns of things. And if you read sheet music, the sheet music is there for you. So the reason I kind of wanted to go through this is it's a simple tune. And it's got repeated patterns. Just remember you're going to hit, on the B part, you're going to hit those notes twice. Da, 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 da. Okay? But the other thing about this is it's a simple tune. It's fairly easy to play. Once you get it in your fingers, it's fine. But the buzzing can be almost anything. Oh, sorry. Need to start from the bottom. Do a whole bunch of things, and it could just be one. It's got a pickup note. Pickup notes. Da, da, da. This is the first note. So it starts from the bottom because it's got a pickup note. Could be down and up. So it's a fairly simple tune that's got a lot of possibility. So what I want you to do is just, you know, practice the tune. Like I said, we're not going to go through it here aside from just, I'm going to play it for you. I'm going to give you some variations and show you what you can do. So I want to move on to coups. This is the Annelise Foy. I love Annelise Foy. She's like my, I don't know, kind of like my female superhero. I just love her because she is just a no BS gal. I mean, she just like, whatever, do what I say. And Annelise, I was taking a class with her, and she said, I said, there are people in the United States that don't like to buzz. They don't like the buzzing to be part of the, you know, what they play. And Annelise's response, which I quote endlessly, is a hurdy-gurdy without a trumpet, without a sham, without a dog or buzz, is just a shit violin. It's only, you got 2 octaves. They're not even full octaves. You can only play. You can't like go across, you know, multiple strings. You can't slide. They're just a terrible like violin. Why would you not put the rhythm in it? It's virtually half of the instrument. So because of that, there's always this, oh, that guy can play like 9, or he can do 5s or 8s or 12s, or and it's because it's something they want to attain. They want to like get to the point where they are dead on, perfect playing all the time with all of the buzzing you can fit into one rotation. And so because of that, there's a lot of how to play and how to do the coup. So we're going to go back real quick to the positions of where to hold the knob. So we're going to curl your fingers over, curl your hands over the knob, and you're going to hold it kind of thumb, not sticking straight out, but relaxed over the top of the knob, not like curled in like that, and I don't know, not like that, whatever, just relaxed. Maxu basically, when he talks about it, he says it's like a little bird in a cage. It has to move around. It has to be a little free, but you can't let it go. You gotta like let it move around, but you can't open up your hand big enough that it's gonna fly away. So, so I'm gonna wash my hands later, but I'm gonna show you this now. And this is not easy for a right-handed person. Okay, so I'm going to show you exactly where on your hand the buzzes happen. This is number 1. It happens here, at the kind of near the end of your thumb, right here where you're just past the crease in your thumb, and just about where the pad of your thumb is. It happens right there, not way on the end, but right in here. Number 2 happens, that looks like a 4, sorry, it's a 2. Happens on when you pull back, you use this part of your hand, and you can you actually kind of in the crease there, but you can use that part of your hand to pull back like you're, pulling the trigger, or as I say oftentimes, it's like you're snapping your fingers. You want that little quick jerk as part of the buzzing. Then, because I play like this, where my finger's underneath, I put the 3 here, right there, and it's where the knob kind of rests in there. If your hands are smaller, your 3 might be here on your ring finger, not your middle finger. And then 4 is right there. It's right there at the heel of your hand, just where your thumb comes down, right here. So that's why you hold it like this, because you're basically holding it so that you can accomplish those buzzes. When you do those buzzes, the 1 is this quick jerk down, and the way that you do that, the way that you kind of tap it down, is to let the outside, this portion of the handle, right up your hand, right up your thumb, and then push down on it. And it's a quick little snap of your thumb. It's not a delayed push. It's not you're not trying to grab it or anything. It's just this quick little down motion, and it tends to happen from the knuckle here, and not so much the whole thumb. So it's just this little quick jerk there. Same for number 2. Number 2 is that finger snap thing, and I use the middle finger to do that, where you're pulling on it, and you pull on it, and it snaps back into your hand. And the way that number 2 happens is you let from number 1, as it's rolling around, like I said, it's a little loose, but you're not tight, you're not grabbing it tight. It's going to roll this way a little bit forward, right? And when you get it up to there, you can grab back at it and snap it back into your hand. You're going to snap it back so that it goes from here to there. So up here, say that part of your hand, maybe not quite that far. I'm being a little exaggerated here. And you're going to snap it back into like you're grabbing it with the ball of your thumb there. So that's 2. 3, there's 2 different versions of 3. 3 is it's this jerk up, and that jerk up can happen by rotating your hand or letting it drop down in your hand a little bit and then grabbing at it really fast and it causing it to jerk up as you're rotating. Or you can do what I refers to the English hitchhiker. When virtually every English person I've seen play it, when they play, in order to make the three, this buzz, they tip their hand out that way. And you can see if I kind of let that hang and I go like that, don't drop it. I go like that, you can see that I'm grabbing inside the handle in here, the thinner part, and it's lifting up. And that up is that three, that jerk on the three. The four basically is the most difficult to learn, and it's the most difficult to get in the right place at the right time. So it takes practice, but there's thousands of people that have done it. For maybe tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that have learned how to do it. You can learn how to do it. So the four there on my hand, is the handle sits here and your hand goes like that, just ever so slightly. And you can push on it with your hand, the arm a little bit, but also that quick little snap. The way I describe these things is kind of just, you're throwing the handle. Use your thumb to throw the handle down, to crank down towards the ground. You just snap it down towards the ground. Like you want to get rid of it. Bang. The next one is that finger snap or the trigger pull, however it works out. It's this quick little pullback, and then the hitchhiker, and then this downward bump that way. And so that's the handshake, because you don't go to somebody and go, hi. You shake their hand. You don't, you're not like, hi, how you shake their hand by dipping your hand a little bit. And that's the handshake version. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. It's this repetitive 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 in order to get to that point. Now, if you just start on 1, and that's that crank coming up into your thumb, and then downwards again. And you're just grabbing it really quick. It's almost like it's trying to get away, and you're grabbing it. Number 2 is front forward jerk back. I'm overemphasizing it. Number 3 is that hitchhiker up. Or just a quick jerk of the hand. And then number 4 is that push forward. So I'm overemphasizing that too. You don't want to do that with your wrist, but so that's the whole kind of rhythmic version of it. And essentially, you're doing that. And I wanted to emphasize too that the red lines on this are your vertical up and down. So this is 90 degrees to the ground. This is level with the ground. And you'll notice that 1 happens just past the level. 2 happens just past, horizontal with the ground. 3 is just past it. 4 is just past it. And all of those are just because if you push straight against the axle and it's dead level, it'll just stop. It doesn't go anywhere. So you can't kind of push against it in a straight line. You have to wait until it's just after it and then push. So there's a couple of ways to accomplish that. Just practice. But if you've got your instrument in a configuration that you like to sit, the way that you like to sit, there's little key ways to mark where you want to play. I want to play this one just past the tailpiece here. So just a little bit past here this side on the tailpiece. So it's not straight up and down. It's just a little past where the tailpiece is. Then I've got this little string mount here. I'm going to be just past that string mount. On the 3, I don't have a physical thing, but I can feel it down here, so I'm just past that. And on the 4, it's just past this string side. So you can physically mark where they are to try to give yourself a better idea of where they all are. And the reason that is it's important is because this is the prevalence for people. This is what they normally do. 1, 2, 3, and they put the 4 here. They pull up, up. So it's up, up, and then they come all around and push on 1. So they're not pushing on 4, or they're not playing on the 4 position. They're playing down here below the 4 position. And you want to make sure that you're playing at the 4 position. So to mark a physical point on your instrument that allows you to do that is a good practice. The other thing you want to do when you're playing is you want to listen to yourself play. Is it going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or is it going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 4, 3, 2, is the rhythm off? Do you need a metronome? Should you be practicing with a metronome? You can practice with a metronome. Absolutely perfect good examples of lots of players who do that, for professionals that do it all the time. And you can also watch yourself in a mirror. Watch that as you rotate and you're playing, that your hand is where it's supposed to be. And that's all important because, quite frankly, if you are not on rhythm and you're the rhythm guy, it's not going to go well. It's like just inviting somebody up off the end of the audience that doesn't play drums to play drums for your band. It just stops working. So you want to be as just perfect as possible, and that's because you're imparting that rhythm onto the tune. And then after that, so how do you, once you do that, how do you do the coups in such a way that it sounds good with the music? Well, the music could be 1 note, 1 buzz. Sorry. Or you can do 1 note or 1 buzz just at the top because maybe you're comfortable with just the first coup. So you want to kind of practice what you're comfortable with. And when you practice what you're comfortable with, then try to move on. Once you get really comfortable with it, try to move on and get uncomfortable. Move to the next thing. This one has this da-da-da. Can you go 3, 4, 1? Can you do, can you do 1, 4, 1? So, can you, you want to keep moving, progressing yourself to the next step, but get comfortable with the, what you can do first, and then move forward a little bit at a time. It's really kind of, that's the focus of it. The coup, you need somebody who's experienced to watch you play. And when they watch you play, they can say, okay, here's the way that you can correct that. That's why I keep saying teacher, teacher, teacher. Get a teacher. Find a teacher. There's all kinds of great teachers. Get one of those. And then if you can't, ask lots of questions. Talk to people on Hurdy-Gurdy communities, on Hurdy-Gurdy Player, whatever. Just try to get the answers that you need so that you can learn to play the way that you want to. I think Sergio has some videos for coup. I know I've got my videos up. There may be some others up there that I'm just not aware of, but I put mine up maybe 9-10 years ago. I need to redo them all, but essentially they still apply in some, you know, in general. So the last when I showed you this, you can see this little bottom one down here. So this is coup de quatre, or 4 coups, 4 buzzes per rotation. This is coup de trois, 3 buzzes per rotation. You can see that there's this pattern. It's easy pattern. This is a square, right? If you just connect all the dots, that's a square. If you connect all the dots down there, it's a triangle. You can make a star pattern. You can make an 8-sided pattern. You can make a 7-sided pattern. Whatever works, you know, whatever you can get out of it that is part of the music. You don't want to just, you know, randomly buzz and hope that falls in the right place. You want to be able to do it when and how you want it. But all of those things what is oddly and strangely the simplest thing for most players to do is the coup de trois. So when I started, I could do a coup de trois. I started doing coup de quatre, started playing the 4s, and then I had to incorporate coup de trois in, and I was terrible at it. So I worked to get it, you know, right. And by the way, Galician music, if you don't know or don't play Galician music, I suggest Galician or Italian music for coup de trois. They're awesome. They get you in line all the time. You play perfect all the time, or you learn to play perfect all the time. So coup de trois is the same thing. It's down, back, and up. Now you think, well, it's a triangle, why go up? It's this up motion from this triangular, the end of the triangle on this side, that buzzes. Because if you try to kind of go like that, it doesn't really work. So it's down, back, up, and you know, when you come up, it's going to rotate you around back up to the 1 position again. So down, back, up, down, back, up. That'll give you the coup de trois. So, and then all the variations in between. The last thing I want to talk about is coup gras. Coup gras, so that all of these things I've been teaching you, these little buzzes, those are all what the French would refer to as coup sec, dry hits, just little dry buzzes. In other words, they're short, they're rhythmic, but they don't have any expression. It's just like da 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 da, you know. It's what keeps you in line, but there's no expression in it. So coup gras, which is French for fat, you know, this fat strike or fat hit, that's where the expression comes in. You can make you can play a tune without it, and it will sound very kind of dry, you know. But you play that same song with coup gras. It's the these long sustained coups that give you the expression, and that's and the thing that's important about the coup sec versus the coup gras is the coup sec is the rhythm, and you really want to focus on that. And coup gras is you. I can't play coup gras in the way that another player plays it, because it's the way that they play it in order to express themselves. I play it in my style. I play it the way I want to. It's close to some other players, or maybe it's a mimic of somebody else, but it's not the same. So when you're playing, make sure that you get everything in the right position. But then, after you get everything in the right position, add you into it. Stop. Don't worry about the rhythm. Start adding what you want to play and how you want to play it. That's really important for your overall musical happiness. I mean, if you could in fact just play da 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 all the time, and maybe that would make you happy. But if you start saying, oh, I'm the guy that does the coup gras on that one note, then nobody else does it because I like doing it that way. That's
that means that that's now your expression for that tune. And so I'm going to give you a quick demonstration for coup gras, but it's kind of not advanced. It's above beginner. But I'll give you a quick explanation for it. And what it is your tirant needs to be up a little bit. And it can't be, you don't want it way up, but you want to basically have it up a little more so that the coup sec isn't the main, the only thing you can play. And coup gras is really about speeding up the handle at one given point. So you're going to speed up the crank at one given point, whether it's at the top or the bottom or 2 or 4, wherever you're going to play it. And once you speed it up, you're going to keep a consistent rhythm, or consistent speed, consistent speed as you go around. And the issue is that now you've kind of got this, I don't know, where normally you're going around a circle, everything, you're just adding these little point as you go around. Now you've got this, now you're going to speed it up, and your timing becomes off because you're going a little faster. And if you don't correct for that, your one is going to increasingly go faster and faster and faster, and your song is going to go increasingly faster and faster. So the correction for that is to speed up and then slow down, speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down. And the best way to accomplish that, the control of that, is to no longer now your bird's trying to get out. You're going to grab it. You're going to really hold on to it. I mean, it doesn't have to strangle it, but you're going to hold on to it. And what I found works well for me is I push slightly inwards. It allows me to control the speed and gives me a little tension to work against. So I'll push slightly inwards with my hand towards the instrument, and I'll buzz. It'll buzz and then slow down. Buzz, slow down. Buzz, slow down. That's the way that you're going to. That's how you keep it in rhythm. So you can practice that, but like I said, it's a little more than just the beginner's type thing. So the coup gras though isn't. You could spend your whole life and never do it, but you will probably feel more satisfied as a player in knowing that you can add your own kind of expression to the tune. And then the coup gras, like I was playing in the beginning. You get that cool little. You can get the cool little off rhythm buzz. So it's just nice to have like a whole tool bag full of things you can mess around with it. And then once you get all those coups in, then you progress. And if you want to progress, most of the time 4 is all you're going to ever need. Most people that say, oh yeah, I want to do 8s or 12s or whatever, when you watch them play, they use them like in short little sections, and then they stop using them again. So it's just this little burst. And then they're done. So they don't tend to the whole time. So you can learn those. The reason it takes longer to learn those is because everything you're doing, your body doesn't want to do. You are essentially training your body to make all these little micro movements that allow you to make those buzzes. So all those little things that happen are all these micro muscle movements. You're not doing, I like to say that essentially what your body likes to do is you like hammer on things and you like to saw things, or you like to reach for things and you like to hit things, And so this motion and this motion are pretty ingrained. And what most people think is, oh, I got to go down on it, so I got to like push, like just slam my hand down, like I'm going to hit it with a hammer. You don't. You want to just use your thumb to bink,
just a quick little thing, and that's all micro muscle. So it's just going to take time. But once you get those motions in, and you've got those little micro muscle controls, then you can kind of add on top of those. Add a few more buzzes in, in a different position. But start with 4, and go from there. And I think that kind of winds us up for what we're going to do there. RT had asked me. RT had asked me to just kind of play a couple of different instruments. So this is the Bourbonnais tuning, very Bourbonnais tuning in DG. It has got a high string. I'm going to show you. And this one, by the way, is made by Boudet. Boudet I consider to be the finest French hurdy-gurdy maker in terms of open sound. I would consider my ranking would be Boudet and Kerboeuf. They'd be very close. Boudet is just an inch above Kerboeuf. Kerboeuf does these amazing instruments. They're awesome. And then equally there's lots of other great makers. Chris Allen, which I should have had, by the way, I should have had a hurdy-gurdy here from Chris Allen today, but it is still held up in Kentucky. Who knows if it's ever going to get to me. So Chris Allen makes these amazing French-style instruments. But this particular one, like I said, is Boudet. So the Boudet sound is very distinct, but also very much like old Genzot makers. He focuses on a maker named Nigou, who's a lot of Genzot people that buy. Sorry, let me back up. Genzot is the region of France, the town in France where virtually all of the instruments from about 1850 to 1950 that are these loop back styles come from. I mean, there's other regions, but like they vastly outnumber any other region. This tiny little town in the center of France. So that's the town called Genzot. He uses the sound from a Nigou, which is another famous Genzot maker, as a model for his sound. So you can get this. You get this nice, it's like single string violin sound. It's kind of, you've got a nice octave tone there. Genzot instruments have I don't know, aside from, let me correct, Hungarian instruments have the loudest buzz. Genzot instruments fall like second under Hungarian. Typical. So that's a typical Genzot sound. I should have an instrument in G, but it is on loan right now, and it was on loan with Taryn. So instead, I have this instrument from Bresse, which is just northeast of Genzot, still in France. And this is this like thinner model, like I talked about, where the body is a little thinner. It is a copy to a Louvet instrument, which is a Baroque instrument. more of a
Scott,
yes.
Scott, can you tell people what the
Oh yes.
tuning is for each string, so they can tell
Yes.
the difference between the Bourbonnais tuning?
Yes. Sure. That was a DG tuning, which basically means all the strings are in D. There is the bouche, which is in G, but everything else is in D. It's this the instrument I have, this boudet that I have, has 3 chanter strings. 2 of them are in D and 1 is in G. I don't like the sound of the G instrument or the G tuning on it. It's really harsh, so I don't tend to play it. But it's got extra strings, so I've got one in C, D, and G on the instrument. But it's and the trumpet is also set. It's got capos on it. I'll show you the capos here. It's got capos on it to allow it to change the buzzing, the intonation for the buzzing, however you like, or the tune, I guess the key of the buzzing. So so capo, this is so open string is C, D, E, and G. So it's because of the way that the instrument's set up with all of the additional strings and whatnot that you've got all these capos on it. I tend to just play in D on this instrument, but it's got a great bridge on it. And I love it. So this is the one. This is my like daily. If I'm going to pick up an instrument, I play it. This is this like I said, it's this copy of a Louvet instrument. It's these are open. So the open strings on these are G. So they're unison G, which means that they are both in the same key, or both in the same pitch. They're exactly the same strings. And then this moosh should be in G. I don't think yeah, should be in G. I don't have it set for that. But the trumpet on this is in C. So there's no capo on it. So it's really typical for a Baroque instrument that your trumpet is in C. Oftentimes, if we have a G Barry Bourbonnais style instrument, they come in C, but we'll often switch them out for a G string because then you don't have to do any modification tuning for any changes in the scale of the whatever tune you're playing. And then it's got a D and a G, or sorry, a G and a C drone, so C drone, G drone. So that's this. It's made by a guy named Luteau in 1850, and Luteau was known to be he's a well-known copier for Louvet, but he made horrible heads. Like the faces were always just some really simplistic thing. So this one. This is probably off a Louvet, or a Caron or a Lambert, but it's that period is most likely Louvet though. And somebody took a really nice head off of another instrument, which I'm terribly disheartened by. But maybe the other instrument was destroyed and they found a repurpose for it. I want to think that. I just want to think that they didn't just go, oh, this guitar body has a hole in it, so I'm going to smash it. So. Anyway, so that's this nice Luteau instrument, and the other. So I would play the Tecaru, but it's not mine. It's Curtis's. He loaned it to me. Taryn was supposed to do the intro to all the instruments and how they worked and how they played and all that. And because Taryn had to rush off, my instruments are still at her place. So these I don't think really play. They've probably been in a box too long. So I don't want to, I didn't have the time to really test them all out and make sure they play. So I'm going to leave that one alone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the Rebollo. So Rebollo is this Spanish maker, just amazing, like I said, amazing sound. The tops are hand carved like a violin would be. The back is hand carved like a violin would be. The tuning on this is it's C, G, C. So there's a C on the outside, G in the center, and C on the outside again. So this is a low C. mid G, and a high C. And what that means essentially is that you can start with this really deep sound and then play to this higher sound. And if you wanted to just play the low C, you can get this very kind of alto type sound. And then if you want to get up to the tenor sound, you can play on the high C on this end. And because because it's got those those ability to do all that, there's also these little extra things in here. Those are all capos. So I can capo the C to a G to a G. I can capo the G to a D, and any of the notes in between. So G is open, A, B, C, D. So I can tune any of those, not the half notes or whatnot. So that's this one. It's got capos on both sides. So one of these is an F, the other one's in C. So I can play capo it to the F, G, A, and then generally we don't play B, so you get C, D, E. And the same thing happens on the other side with the trumpets. So this one has got octave tuning. And one of the things I want to point out about octave tuning is the thing that is good and bad. Octave tuning has this really great kind of overall timbre to it. It's just like you can really feel it. You need to amplify it for bigger rooms or dances or whatnot, but it's just got this really rich sound. The only problem is a few cents of misalignment on the tangents makes every note muddy. They have to just be dead perfect. So if you're going to play octave tuning, you want to make sure every tangent is dead on if you're going to play that. Now I can take off the high C on this. So I'll put it back on and show you again. So you can hear the difference between, each kind of string. Oh, wrong one. And then there's the not tuned, but whatever. And we were talking about fourths earlier. This is the fourth. It sounds really great until you push a key. Still sounds muddy. These are really, really amazing instruments. There's a lot of great makers. There's some really great luthiers out there that are making these incredible instruments. I will not be able to say his last name because I think I've heard it pronounced twice, and I think both times I heard it pronounced slightly different. We just call him Caesar here. Caesar makes these amazing Spanish maker, amazing instruments for your waiting list. Rebollo, you can get on his waiting list, and he'll call you. He'll let you know when whatever it is that he has available is available. Sebastian Hilsman makes these. I don't know if he's German or Austrian. Makes these amazing instruments that have this really beautiful quality to them. And then there's Wolfgang Weichselbaumer. Wolfgang
he's the originator. I mean, if you were to ask somebody where did this sound come from, it would eventually lead back to Wolfgang. He made all these changes. He's the guy that invented the metal tangents. He's the guy that changed the sound of hurdy-gurdies as we know them today. And there's lots of people that kind of led up to him. Seurat, Bleton. There's a bunch of these people that led up to him, but this sound is very specific to that, like kind of this new overall bigger sound from the instrument. And quite frankly, I think it all leads. Well, the reason you can get all these bigger sounds out of them is because the availability of amplification is, it's there. You just, plug in. And that means that these players that before were limited because they had to have, because the sound wouldn't carry or because they couldn't reach from the stage out to wherever they need to go. Now with the amplification, it's no longer a concern. Crank it up to 11 and play away. So the only thing I need to kind of make clear about these, aside from tuning the instrument, dead on, if you're going to play octave tuning, if you're just going to play one string, doesn't matter. But if you're going to play octave tuning, the tangents really need to be you need to be exactly at the same time, and they need to be exactly the same point within the note. But the thing that happens with these instruments is that because the string is heavier, they move more. And because they move more, because you've got this like I said, excursion, which is the string of movement, because you've got this bigger string movement, when you push on the tangent and it goes to hit the string, when it tries to hit the string hits the tangent a couple of times before you get it to stop. So it's moving in and the string is bouncing off of it, and then it comes to a stop. So you can get these, you can kind of hear that yank into the note. And you can hear it go zick into the note. That's because the string is bouncing off the tangent a few times. It happens really, really fast, but you can still hear it. So these deeper strings, especially in these, I think it was the Symphona or whatever, this big one made from the Michelinde version of it. It's this big monstrous thing. The strings are really heavy, and when you play it, if you're a subtle player and you have a really light touch, it's gonna always sound like that. The sound is always going to be like this gravelly sound before you get to a true note. You have to play these heavier string instruments fast. You got to be quick on the attack, and you've got to be, once you push on the key and it's in place, you've got to give it a little more power than you would use on, say, the Genzad instrument or the other types, where the strings are more forgiving. So you have you can't be too subtle with it. You've got to be a really quick, hard attack on it. So that's just a note about, because I know that there's lots of players out there that have the heavier, the deeper strings on them, and sometimes they suffer. They're like, I don't, the sound isn't quite right or whatever. They're not being aggressive enough. You just need to, be aggressive, hit the string as hard as you can, as fast as you can, and then give it a little extra power to make sure that it doesn't. The other thing is that if you push on it, the string still wants to move away from the tangent, and it'll still kind of bang on it. And so you push a little harder, it's gonna stay in place. So, yeah. So that's it. I'm open for questions, and I'll be happy to hang out and do whatever you need to do. I can't see the. Sorry, I can't see the chat. If anybody has any questions and they're in chat or whatever, go ahead and just open your mute up and ask me away.
You mentioned the badminton strings.
Yes.
Where are they used? I mean, are they on the? They're not used for the main melody strings, right?
Yes. Yeah, high D chanter normally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're usually used for a high D because they'll take the tension. If you get a like there's a on the gut strings, the high D gut strings. If you tie a knot, which is typical, you tie a knot in the end of the string and then pull the string through. The string often pops because the high Ds are so thin that just by wrapping them over themselves in a knot, they find a spot that they just pop. So my string actually has they all loop back and they've got a little clove hitch on them, or kind of a modified clove hitch on them, so that they bind up and then they bind to themselves, but they don't. The binds over wraps itself in order to not break regularly. So I don't know if you can see it there. So there's a little clove hitch knot over the top of that string, and that binds it over, kind of under and onto itself. A lot of people have trouble with that, and so Neil found out that if you use this badminton string, you could tie a knot in it and put it through the thing and tighten it up, and they last forever. He calls it the Wonder String because basically it's pretty much stays in pitch, and you can blast away at it, and it's play away, it's fine. I think they're a little plasticky sounding, so I prefer gut. But as far as just like stability and ease of playing, the Wonder Strings are wonderful.
Yeah, but it's pretty limited. It's like you were saying, DG and D5.
Yeah. No, you that's it. That's all you get out of it. Because once you get beyond that, it becomes it's either nylon guitar strings or weed whacker string.
I held up here. Let's see, to the screen. I don't know if people can see it, but I've blown a lot of gut strings on the high D5. But let's see, there it is for tying the loops, and everything that you said was just, you're right. It gets really critical.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, it's very critical. And if you just tie you can tie a loop onto itself, but even then they'll break. Like I recognize that as a gamut bag, but even then though they can pop. It's that little over the top clove hitch thing where you bring it over around the tailpiece and then tie it off to itself and let the loop go through the tailpiece. That works really well. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
He's got a great. He's a great guy. So, anybody else? I can't. What was in the chat that there's probably lots of stuff in the chat I missed.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a question, and RT semi-answered it.
Sure.
But I play my coups exactly like you do, but I think they're delayed by about 20 degrees, maybe. It's a little bit later. They don't quite line up at the same spot that yours do, and I'm wondering if people do play differently like that, or if it's really crucial to try to move them up to play them where you play them, or what?
Well, okay, so there are players that play. Chris Allen, I love Chris Allen. He's like I don't know, my brother from another mother. I love him, but he plays the coup like 20 degrees farther, and if you play with somebody and they don't play in the same position you're in, you can't watch them play. It's like like looking at them is the equivalent of being in a symphony where one guy is bowing at the wrong, speed that everybody else is bowing, and everybody else is just like, I can't look because I can't. It's my rhythm is based on my bowing, and if I pay attention to his, I start thinking, am I wrong or is he wrong or what's going on? So I just can't watch it. But as long as you're playing it and it's on rhythm and on time, there's no problem with it.
They're exactly. The finger placement, where it hits on my fingers, my palm, everything is exactly the same as yours.
Yeah.
But it's, like I say, maybe 20 degrees shifted further than what yours are.
Yeah. Like I said, Chris
Just
Allen,
because it's more mechanical advantage and I get a little bit more control that way.
Sure. Sure, and that's totally valid. There's no, the rule about playing these coups is that you want to play them so that they're consistent. There's a whole German school of thought, or at least I was told about it, where the one is actually in the two position. So you're not even playing up at the top; you're playing down here, and to me that's terribly confusing. But there's nothing wrong with it as long as it's as long as you keep within the rhythm of the tune.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's okay for Charlie because he's playing a one-of-a-kind Neil Brook instrument, so he has permission from Neil to do that.
Oh yes. Well,
I don't know about that, but it's been a real trip. He had it sitting in his garage for, I don't know, 12, 14 years. And he had never sold it because it's like a MIDI controller enabled. So it's like all this electronics on top of the regular instrument. And it has just been a real trip trying to learn how to play it.
well, it's one of those things where you're like, oh, I want to add this and I want to add that and I want to add this. And I'm guilty of it. When you order instruments, you're like, oh, I'm just going to get with the instrument this and I got to get that and that and that. And then it shows up and you're like, I don't know what to do with all that extra stuff.
Well, and then it gets more complicated because people do have MIDI Gurdys today.
Yes.
And they're MIDI controllers.
Yeah.
But this particular one was designed to work with a Korg Triton, so a lot of the MIDI channels are actually on the instrument itself.
Oh yes.
And it's all custom built, so it's like breadboards inside. And I should show you some pictures sometime. It's interesting. And then of course you can actually, there's MIDI channel 7 and 8 that are specifically for the coup. So there's pickups underneath the chin.
Yeah.
So that you can make different sounds when you buzz, as whether you want a drum sound, percussion, triangle, or whatever.
Nice.
And then that's a whole different, it's a skill I haven't quite mastered yet to get all that to play just right. Because when you do buzz, it has to be of a certain strength and, to be able to trigger the MIDI channel.
Oh yeah. 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 Well, I got to say, Neil Brook never found an idea that he thought was bad. He just kept, he's like, oh, I'm going to add electronics to this. I'm going to put some, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And he just tries everything. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And he's kind of gone the way of Raboyo now, where he's like, I'm retired. And then everybody's like, oh, well, I just bought one from Neil, because he was retired. Oh yeah, nice. I haven't seen that one. I saw his. I saw his Wren that he had super modified as well. So, okay. Questions, anyone?
I have a tip I would like to impart.
Sure.
It has to do with the fingers pointing and the stiffening of the left hand. And oh my God, I can't hit that note because I'm getting stiffer as I'm playing. I finally got so frustrated with that I just told my body, okay, just play as sloppy as you want. And I think I did that for about a week. I allowed myself to not care. I forced my hand so far the other way to relax so much, let the notes be lazy and get that sensation, really get into the sensation of the relaxation, that after about a week of that, I was done with the stiff hand and the fingers pointing off in every direction.
That's great. That's exactly, yeah.
Really worked for me, and it may help somebody else.
Yeah, I totally agree. Anything that, whatever it is that works, that's, and if you just say, okay, you know what, forget it, I'm just going to be sloppy, and I don't need to be precise, but I just need to relax. If that trains you to relax, that's that's the training. That's the way to do it. That's awesome. So I can't really see the chat.
Really quickly, what's the name of the workshop in Indiana?
The early music. Oh God, no! It's a moniker. It goes on forever. It's early music
Workshop. It's sponsored by this early music group, and I can't remember the full name of it because we just call it the Hurdy-Gurdy Workshop. But if you look up early music, Hurdy-Gurdy Workshop, it'll be up there.
It's early music in motion.
Thank you very much. I knew.
Thank you so much.
There's quite a moniker. Early music in motion. Yes, and it's the Hurdy-Gurdy. They do a double reed early music double reed instrument class as well, and this is the Hurdy-Gurdy side of that. So. Oh, somebody wants to hear the little symphony. I need to tune that thing. It's been sitting around for too long.
I've got a question for you.
Yes.
So on the Cypress or whatever song,
Yes.
I have a question about like when to start shifting your hand. So
Okay.
in the first line, I'm gonna use the DG version. The
Sure.
A at the very end, I
Mhm.
shift my index finger down to there so I can get down to the D on my pinky. But on the second line, I'm having trouble finding when to switch my fingers one down to get to that F at the very end of the song.
Okay. So when you play, start with your ring finger or your middle finger because you're only going to play these three fingers to begin with. You know, da 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 down. Then down at the end. So you're going to play. Let me. It's easier to do if I strap it on. Now your hand shifts up, and it shifts to the accidental. Once you get there, you can just, because of the way the tune is written, it's ba ba da 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 da. You can shift your pinky again. So. So it's not critical. The way that the tune is written allows for that. You could move it from the fourth key. I'll just say A, from the A and then down from the A with your ring finger. Move your ring finger down again to the G and then to the F sharp. So, but it's not when I play it. So I let that little open, I let that little open space happen.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Anybody else? I got lots of time. If anybody else has anything else, otherwise we'll just end it and call it good. I'm happy to. I'm gonna actually pause this now or stop the recording.